Citizenship on the Go. Lesson 8. American Government, the Executive Branch. Part 3. Presidential Elections and the Order of Succession. Elections to choose the President and the Vice President of the United States are held every 4 years. In presidential elections, U.S. citizens who are at least 18 years old can vote. Although he could have tried for re-election, the first president, George Washington, set a precedent by serving only 2 terms. Most U.S. presidents who were elected a second time followed Washington's example, stepping aside after their 8th year as president, with the notable exception of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Roosevelt is the only U.S. president to have served more than 2 terms. He won 4 presidential elections in a row, serving as president all through the Great Depression and for much of World War II. After Roosevelt died toward the start of his 4th term, an amendment was added to the Constitution, limiting presidents to 2 4-year terms maximum. On years with presidential elections, in-person voting is always scheduled to take place during the second to last month of the year. Every 4 years, presidential campaigns gain energy in the early fall as political parties like the Republican Party and the Democratic Party ramp up efforts to convince people to vote in November for their preferred candidates for president and vice president. Since November is election month in the United States, many Americans see voting for president as part of the fall season, much like the changing colors of the leaves and preparations for Thanksgiving gatherings with friends and family. Civics test question. We elect a president for how many years? We elect a president for how many years? Four. A president is elected for 4 years at a time. A president can be elected a maximum of 2 terms, and each presidential term lasts 4 years. Civics test question. In what month do we vote for president? In what month do we vote for president? November. Every 4 years, we vote for president in the month of November. Civics test question. What is the name of the President of the United States now? What is the name of the President of the United States now? Do you know the answer to this question? If you're unsure who the current president is, visit whitehouse.gov to find the answer. On the whitehouse.gov website's main menu, click the word Administration to learn more about the current president and other current members of the executive branch. Presidential elections have 2 phases. The first phase is primary elections, which are held when 2 or more candidates from the same political party want to be president. Primaries are usually held early in the year of a presidential election, in order for political parties to have plenty of time to promote their chosen candidate before the final votes for president are cast in November. Many states have closed primaries, which means that only citizens registered as members of a certain political party can vote in that party's primary. In order to help choose the Republican candidate for president, for example, a person in a closed primary state needs to first be registered as a Republican. The next phase of presidential elections is the general election in November. In the general election, citizens 18 and older can vote for president, In the general elections in November, it doesn't matter if a voter is registered as a Republican, a Democrat, or neither. Citizens 18 and older can vote for whatever candidate they prefer, no matter if that candidate is of the voter's registered party or not. Because of the Electoral College system, a citizen who is 18 or older must be a legal resident of one of the 50 states or of the U.S. capital, Washington, D.C., at the time of the November election in order to vote for president. The Electoral College system gives each state of the United States a number of votes for president equal to that state's combined number of senators and House representatives. Connecticut, for example, has 5 representatives in the House. This is more representatives than some states have, and fewer than some other states have, because the number of House representatives a state has depends on its population. Like every other state, however, Connecticut has 2 senators. Since 5 plus 2 is 7, whichever presidential candidate receives the most votes from Connecticut residents in November gets all 7 of Connecticut's Electoral College votes. U.S. territories like Puerto Rico and Guam do not have senators or voting members in the House of Representatives, and they don't get Electoral College votes in presidential elections. Because of this, while U.S. citizens who are legal residents of Puerto Rico or Guam can participate in American democracy in many other ways, they cannot contribute votes toward choosing the next president and vice president of the United States. If a U.S. citizen who is a resident of a territory moves to a state, however, and becomes a legal resident of that state before the next presidential election, they can vote for president at that time as long as they are at least 18 years old. Civics test question. How old do citizens have to be to vote for president? How old do citizens have to be to vote for president? 18 and older. A citizen of the United States must be at least 18 years old and a resident of one of the 50 states or of Washington, D.C., in order to vote for president. While the president and vice president are chosen every 4 years by a general election open to U.S. citizens in every state and in Washington, D.C., senators and House representatives are chosen through smaller elections. Elections for senator are open only to citizens who are residents of the senator's state. And elections for House representatives are open only to citizens who are residents of the representative's congressional district. Once someone has been elected as a representative by the people of a congressional district, they have the chance of becoming Speaker of the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House is nominated by other members of whatever political party currently has a majority in the House. After the nomination for House Speaker is made, all representatives, no matter their political party, have the chance to vote for or against the nomination. If enough people vote to confirm the nominated candidate as House Speaker, that person is sworn in as the presiding officer of the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House has the responsibility of handling official communications between the House and other parts of federal government, such as the executive branch. The Speaker also has the job of moderating debates in the House and maintaining order, among other important duties. The Speaker of the House also occupies a high position in the presidential order of succession. If the president's ability to serve is permanently disrupted, the House Speaker is just second in line to step in. Only the vice president is higher than the House Speaker in the order of succession. This means that if both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, the Speaker of the House becomes president. If something happens to remove the current president from office, the vice president will step in as president. If something then also occurs to remove the vice president from office, the current Speaker of the House will become president. If you know who the Speaker of the House is now, then you know who is second in line for the presidency of the United States. Civics test question. If both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president? If both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president? The Speaker of the House of Representatives. If both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, the Speaker of the House becomes president. Civics test question. What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? Do you know the answer to this question? If you're not sure you know the name of the current Speaker of the House, visit speaker.gov to find the answer. This is the end of Lesson 8 of Citizenship on the Go.